Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tilting Ground with Michael Muto. Today, I'm here with a very special guest. Uh, he was probably one of the first people to probably bring the idea of podcasting up to me. And I got to say, the little sprout that grew the Michael Muto Tilting Ground podcast, came from this person, and it's Dimitri Kokoris. Hi, Dimitri. How are you?
Hey, Mike. I'm really excited, super nervous, and completely petrified that when I listen back to this, I'm going to realize I'm not funny.
That's something I realized a long time ago.
Yeah,
So,
cut your losses. I figured.
I'll be nice from here on out.
Appreciate it.
Dimitri and I kind of came up with this. I don't know, after just hanging out and years of listening to Drive Time Sports Talk Radio and Bill Simmons and just any podcast influence you could think of, we probably listened to it and talked about it. So,
well, yeah, it's funny you bring that up because that's actually my first topic of conversation. It's kind of the sources of media that inspired us to get to this junction of our life. First and foremost, when Mike met up, we went to high school together, and we were 3 years apart and never talked. It's probably somebody he was glad not to know at that point because I would have ruined his street cred. But
I was friends with your brother.
Yes, he was close to the age with my brother, who's 4 years older than myself. So yeah, that was interesting. But anyway, we met up at a later time in our life, about 5 or 6 years later, and the first topic of conversation that we really bonded over, you guessed it, Jersey Shore.
That is a true story. Jersey Shore was hot back then.
It wasn't hot yet. It was the second episode. We met at a party, and you were like, Jersey Shore? And I was like, oh, careful. And you said, no, don't worry. I can literally talk about that show for hours. And I proceeded to put that to the test, and it turns out he was right. We literally talked about 2 episodes of Jersey Shore for hours.
I think something that doesn't get talked about enough, since we're going down memory lane on Jersey Shore, is just how popular it really was.
Well, that also stemmed from True Life.
Well, yes.
The True Life, I live on the Jersey Shore, and that was the only episode that got good viewership, so they turned it into the series. And I don't think they fully understood what they had when they initially aired it.
No, they had no idea.
That thing took off. I mean, that thing absolutely captured the hearts of America.
I like to give truth bombs on this shit on the Mike Muto podcast here, and I say the first 3 seasons, maybe even 4. I don't even remember how many there were. First 3 or 4 seasons were hot. Everybody watched. Everybody loved it. And here comes the confession. I never saw the finale.
I stopped watching in Italy when Ronnie and Mike the Situation Sorrentino had their almost scuffle. When they didn't fight and they made it a big deal, I was done. I was out. I never watched another episode. That being said, I look fondly back on the first 2 episodes.
I think they got some of their glory back. I think that when they came back to American, then it just kind of petered out, and it was really weird.
Well, what happened was 100% is they became celebrities.
Yeah.
A lot of the charm of that initial season was the fact that they were going to clubs and trying to hook up and totally bombing. By the time you hit season 3 and 4, they were full-on legit celebs. So when they went out, they came home with 2 or 3 girls. And then you had people wanting to come back to the Shore House. And it totally lost that pathetic element that they had, that they were lovable losers. Oh, look at these guys, they think they're sweet, Gym Tan Laundry, go out and come home with nothing, they're just like us.
That is true. I will say this, as listeners of the Tilting Ground Untitled Notre Dame USC football podcast know, I was in Mexico a couple weeks ago, and when I was flipping through the channels trying to find the USC game, I actually stumbled across Mexican Jersey Shore.
Whoa! Hold the phone. Oh, I think I might need a minute to digest what just happened.
And I gotta say, for the 10 minutes I watched, because I did have to find the USC-UCLA game, I have a duty to the listeners of the other
responsibility to the greater population.
I watched about 10 minutes. I was enthralled. They were fighting outside a nightclub. I think they were trying to get a taxi. I'm not 100% sure, but it was a fond memory. It was I know this. I've seen this before. I love this.
I love this. I know these people.
And it might have been in English, actually. I don't 100% remember.
Probably a little bit of both. A little Spanish, a little English, a lot of Spanglish.
Yeah. But no, it was great. It was great. It reminded me of those first couple episodes where I didn't know who these people were, but I appreciated their struggle.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But that was good stuff. But from Jersey Shore, I think the next thing that we definitely discussed, and I think what really ignited the podcast, the DMS, or the Dimitri and Mike show, as we dubbed it, was obviously listening to the Petros and Money show. Back then, before, I don't know what happened with them.
Hold on, you gotta tell the people, Petros and Money are a regional Los Angeles sports talk radio show.
You mean they're not international?
They might be semi-national at this point. Petros is a college football analysis on Fox. Some people may know him. And Matt Moneysmith does show up places here and there.
I'm just, real quick question. Of your listeners, who wouldn't be in the region of the greater Los Angeles? Like, do you have like a small following in New Hampshire?
It's the World Wide Web, my friend.
And it is.
You never know who's going to find these things.
Correct. You're 100% correct. But yes, no, Petros and Money, they're local guys. They have themed dates of the week, Monday through Friday. They did a lot of bits, a lot of segments, and I think they really brought to life what two over-energized men with passion, how much fun they can have on air. And I think we both realized we can do that.
And then we realized it's a lot harder than you think.
Oh, 100%. No, absolutely. So big thing with the PMS thing, though, the Petros and Money show, is they did a lot of bits. They do a lot of bits. They do a lot of stuff like that. And Mike is not as big of a fan of like the top 10 lists, the countdowns, the voices, things of that nature. So
unless it's really funny.
Yes, correct. Unless it's really funny. It's like I'm not a fan of, chicks with big teeth unless they're really hot. But no, we had to draw inspiration from somewhere else. And I think the guy that definitely drew a lot closer to home was Bill Simmons of the BS Report.
Yes, very, very close to home.
Yeah. So Mike, I got to tell my little introduction story to old Bill Simmons. When Mike and I met, I had never heard of Bill Simmons. But what I had heard of was Kenny Mayne, and he had this little segment, Main Street. And Mike had continually tried to get me to listen to it. You got to listen to Simmons. He's a sports guy, Boston, this, that. I'm like, this sounds like a responsibility that I'm not going to be able to handle. But what he found was there was a cross episode where Bill Simmons went onto Main Street and had a segment, and it was hilarious. And he set it up on the computer for me. He said, "This is Bill Simmons." I watched it, and I think there was actually a big point where a couple months down the road where I was actually a bigger fan than he was as far as listening to his podcasts and downloading them and being fans and breaking them down and, really analyzing them step by step.
That might be true. I mean, I don't want to be the guy who kills Simmons because that's like the cool, fun new thing to do. Oh, yeah. He's brought so much joy into my life.
Well, let's talk about the good things that Simmons had that Petros and Money didn't, and that was just straight interviewing, straight relatable talk, conversations, no gimmicks.
Right.
Just your good old classic conversation and analysis.
He definitely was, at least back then, he was the actual sports guy, fill in for the fan. Yeah. Like, I'm doing things you wish you could do, so I'm taking your place in interviews. Like, what would a fan ask? What would a fan think? And, I don't know if he really was, but he did that shtick very well. I assume he was. It'd be hard to act like that the whole time.
Yeah, he's extremely knowledgeable about a lot of different areas, which made him good to host because he could bring on a lot of different fans or a lot of different celebrities from different realms and have still really good questions and really drive an interview. But he also did a good job being from a fan's perspective of cutting off all the BS and all the mesh talk that no one wanted to listen to.
Yeah, for sure. And I think right around that time is when Grantland launched, right? I got to say it was right around there, and that was a big influence on, at least at the beginning, it was a big influence on our circle of friends or our peers. Well, I think whether they admitted it or not.
whether they come clean with it. Well, the big thing with Grantland is you saw so many different avenues of podcasts. You saw so many different new podcasts showing up, whether it was the football podcast or the baseball podcast or the girls talking about things.
You're forgetting the best one, my friend.
Oh man, Half-Baked Ideas.
No, Men in Blazers.
Men in Blazers was phenomenal.
Because it's still around.
Is it still going?
It's actually so popular that NBC bought their contracts, and they work for NBC now.
I thought here's my question with Men in Blazers. Was it a full-on show before it became a podcast, or did it become a podcast and segue into a show?
I think because Roger and Davo are they're clearly friends. So I think they had something. They had some kind of maybe like a newsletter or a website or something.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure the podcast was
the initial?
Was Grantland Special, yeah. Because I remember when Michael Davies was on Simmons' podcast. It was like super interesting. I had no idea who he was.
If there's any way the listeners out there can Google search or find a way to get the Men in Blazers podcast where they talk about Landon Donovan winning a MLS championship on the LA Galaxy, I have never laughed so hard listening to a podcast in my life. I mean, I can't repeat it. I can't do it justice, but if you got some extra time and can hunt that thing down, and if somebody could send that to Mike so he could share that, I promise you, it doesn't matter if you listen to soccer or not. It's the single most entertaining podcast. You will literally laugh out loud. You don't have a choice.
Well, I think that was the real charm of Men in Blazers. Was I only know about 10 Premier League teams, maybe 15.
Maybe
if you
really
time
out. You know about 4.
Well, I play FIFA.
Okay. Barring FIFA, I'd say about 3 to 4.
Yeah, I know the top tier guys. And Southampton for some reason.
Oh, of course. West Ham United. Because Russell Brand's a huge fan of West Ham United.
Exactly. And Newcastle because they have a beer. But other than that.
But I think we just lost half our listening base.
Like, I know Newcastle. No, Newcastle brought him back. It's beer.
Okay.
But the point was, these guys were so good at what they did that you didn't even really need to follow soccer, as they would say.
Soccer.
It would still be enjoyable. You'd still laugh. You'd still giggle. You'd get the jokes. They are great.
They paint pictures. Just Picasso with words.
And I think they were the best podcast on Grantland for a while.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Which
leads me, now I'm going to go a little bit off topic to a guy that we don't necessarily agree on, who's a huge influence maybe in my life, but I kind of want to get your perspective on him. Colin Cowherd.
I mean, since I talk into a microphone now, occasionally, it's hard, man. Being good at it is hard.
It's hard.
And this guy does it by himself for
every day,
4 hours.
That's 3 hours a day, and not 3 hours like with commercial breaks in between. Like each day, he records information stuff for 3 hours by himself, and is very good at it. Is entertaining to say the least. Now, what do you think of his style? Can you describe his style?
When he I think this is a problem actually for most entertainers really, is when you start, like think about bands. Like when you start out, your first stuff is always your best stuff because you have to be good. Because if you don't use your best stuff, how are you ever going to become popular? How do you become likable? How do you become known? Right? You're in that struggle of trying to work out and get out there. And so he was fine when he started. I didn't have any problems with him.
Yeah.
But then he kind of got into his shtick of like, it's not quite Skip Bayless-y, where he just says
he does voices.
It's like he does this thing where I don't know. It's almost political, and
he's edgy. I mean,
but you can tell it's on purpose. Like he almost doesn't. I feel like he doesn't believe what he's saying some of the time.
He's contrarian. I mean, straight up, he's trying to get a rise out of you. He often will argue, like, I'm not contrarian for contrarian's sake, so I do believe there's a shred of truth. Now, here's my take on the whole situation is there's 2 things he does, because I listen to him a lot. The first thing that he does, which fascinates me, which I love listening to him, I feel like I get smarter when I listen to him, is he introduces some sort of concept. The concept being like, in order to grow as a human being, you need to experience adversity, and that adversity will bring out the best in you. Or he'll bring something out like, you have to be brought up within a winning culture, let's say, as a coach. Like, you have to be around winning teams. If you're around winning coaches, you'll get their habits. And then when it's your time, like, you don't want to jump into being a head coach too soon, so he'll have these concepts, and they're really good concepts, and they're awesome, and you get to learn stuff. Where he loses everyone is where he takes these concepts and he applies them to a current situation, and it's just outlandish. But because the core concept is rooted in something fundamentally sound, he really gets you. Like,
he really does.
Buy over an argument. And so that's kind of, I think he believes the core concept. I don't know if he always believes the application part.
Yeah, the John Wall stuff really bothers me when he goes into that. Like, he won't let that die. The baseball thing was pretty good, where he, like, how hard could it be to coach baseball? Dominicans play it, and then he tried to work his way around it. It's like, come on, man, just say you messed up. Like you talk for 4 hours to yourself. Like,
well, I know what he meant to say. He had one where he had this concept, and then he applied it, and his application was John Wooden wasn't that great of a basketball coach. And oh my gosh, John Wooden wasn't the best because of such and such a reason. And let me tell you what, he won that day because the phone lines exploded.
That's what he wants. That's what he needs. Like, if he doesn't have that spark of controversy, how's he going to talk for? How's he going to talk for hours on end? How's he going to keep going? It's just, you can't be, something like we talked about with Petros. Everyone always says, "Oh, he's an SC hater." And I don't think he is. But
he's got to prove that he's not. I think early on he had to prove that he wasn't SC biased, so he had to go hard against SC.
Yes.
Because Petros was the captain of the worst team in USC football history, as he likes to put it. And so I think early there was some skepticism as to how objective he could be. So in order for him to eliminate that, I think he went hard in the other route, where anytime they'd be facing somebody, he'd say, "Oh, they're overrated, or this or that," and I think that kind of bought him some legitimacy within the media. But it rubbed USC fans wrong.
Fair, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you gotta, if you don't have your own beliefs and thought processes, just get mushed into the crowd, and no one will hear you. But then but after a while, you become like all the guys on ESPN and kind of say the same thing, and you come apart.
Yeah, I think Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, I think that's just contrarian for contrarian's sake. There's no even core argument. Yes. I mean, one guy, they throw out a topic, I think one guy picks one side that he's passionate about, and the other guy then automatically picks the other one, and they make it entertaining. So, but yeah, that was Cowherd. I think for me, Cowherd's a big influence. I don't know. I wanted to hear Mike's opinion on that. So I guess final answer from Mike. Your thoughts on Cowherd? Good, bad, indifferent?
I skew bad.
Okay.
I skew bad, but I understand why he's good.
Got it. So not for you. Not for you.
Like, I always defend Cristiano Ronaldo just because it's fun.
Yeah.
I get it. Like I understand why people don't like him, but he's still good.
Yes, correct. Correct. Well, oh man, anyway. So, all right, Cowherd got his opinions. Now, one thing that we have to talk about to kind of wrap up our media that we've been kind of exposed to, this more along the lines of Jersey Shore, something that we talk about a lot is MTV's The Challenge.
Well, before we go hard into The Challenge,
we won't go that hard. It's
how
that
affects us, or relates to it. I mean, I have a question for you. I'm kind of, I don't want to stump you, but besides sports people, who else do you think has influenced our media outlook? Like, who are some people that we pull from? Besides sports.
Besides sports?
Besides sports, yeah.
Oh man, I am in sports for a living, and
This is true.
I have a very small world, and I try to keep it just filled with sports.
Well, you have to.
So I mean, like, when I go home, like, ESPN is permanently on, and you only go from ESPN to ESPN2 or to like the MLB Network or NFL Network or stuff like that. Like, I could honestly lose 90% of the channels that aren't ESPN, and I wouldn't notice.
All right, well, I'll tell one I know you're going to agree with.
Okay.
As your brain churns on the other end here. A Grantland Jays, Chuck Klosterman, I think is.
Ow! Okay, here's my argument why he's not sports based, and
Yeah,
why
that's
he
what I'm
is sports based.
Oh, okay.
Is because my only real exposure to him, or my biggest exposure to him, is on the Bill Simmons podcast, which is a sports podcast.
Fair enough. I get that, but I mean, he talks Survivor. He's just a great interviewer.
A point that Mike makes out every time he interviews somebody is he asks the best questions and gets the best information out of people.
It's true.
Like there was one incident that sticks out in my mind that you described where he was interviewing Kurt Herbstreit. And it's the first time in the history of Kurt Herbstreit he went into the relationship he had with his parents and his high school football and how that affected his life and who he is. And it's only Chuck Klosterman can get that.
And he did it in a not direct way. He just did it conversational. Yes. It was in a very conversational way.
Yeah, absolutely. Very natural, very free-flowing.
But yes, I'm trying to think of who else.
He had an interview with Jeff Probst.
That was another great one.
Where the interview was supposed to be 40 minutes. The interview took an hour and 15, and Jeff Probst was late for his next appointment and was no, I can cancel it. Wanted to stay on the phone with Klosterman because I think he finally found somebody who saw the game the way he did, or actually asked good questions.
Right, or brought out a different way of thinking, or just something. He brought out something that sparked Jeff Probst's interest.
Probst, absolutely. I think he challenged him and brought things into fruition that he'd never even considered before, or finally was able to share it with somebody. And I mean, you could literally hear him oh no, I've got another 10 minutes, and 15 minutes would pass in the podcast. He was so enraptured with Klosterman's interview that he just effed this whole next appointment that he had up. But yeah, Klosterman was be huge. I love that. I have all of his books on tape. I listen to them audio-wise. Big when I'm on planes, I listen to books on tape, and he's my go-to.
Very, very good, very good. All right, so the challenge.
The challenge. Okay. Yeah, it's just it's just a brief bring up, just a matter of fact that's something we watch and discuss. It is. I agree with Bill Simmons. It is the fourth major American sport.
What I think gets people to like the challenge or excited about the challenge is, besides the drunken escapades.
It's the Bachelor with sports?
Yes. But besides that, is they bring the same people back over and over again. So it is like sports. Yes. How people compete. Who doesn't like each other. Who's strong. Who can run fast.
Mm-hmm.
So you're prepared for what's going to happen, which makes it a much easier watch.
Yes. About 2/3 of the cast, and then there's a third of it which they're just trying people out. Let's see if this guy works. Or, sometimes they kiss lightning in a bottle. I think Leroy on his first challenge made it almost to the end.
Yes, with a weak partner. Which was really impressive. For those listening in the challenge, you got to vote people off every week, and always the new people get voted off the first couple weeks. They get the new people out of the way so that the veterans, quote unquote, can play the game. Very reality show, stable, I think.
Absolutely. But I think the challenge was something that Mike and I think it more so brought together our commentary, where we would watch the challenge, call each other up, and then break it down like we just watched, the NFC Championship game.
Pretty much.
But I thought that was, I just thought that was something to bring up.
And we knew all the people from the real world because we were young when they were in the real world.
Correct.
So it was okay that we watched it back then.
I'm laughing because I still need to give you my Christmas gift.
Oh no.
I think that might have given some of it away.
Can't wait.
Okay.
Hope it's Real World Hawaii. The complete season.
With Ruthie.
And Tech.
Tech. Oh, man. Oh,
yes, I think just that subculture of MTV reality, I think, definitely played a part in our lives.
Yes. I just think it helped our analytical brains. It gave us fuel. It gave us something to break down. Oh, so now that we're down to 2 listeners remaining, I just kind of want to tie that all up. So our inspirations, media-wise, Jersey Shore, Petros and Money, Bill Simmons. For me, more so Cowherd. Obviously, a little Kenny Mayne in there. And then the challenge. And Klosterman. Is there anything we're missing there?
Between the two things, I know there's something on the tip of my tongue, and for some reason I can't picture it. And I know it's more than the television show Becker.
Robin Big?
No, 'cause I don't really like Robin Big.
I love Robin Big. Anyway,
there was one other thing, and it's just gonna kill me. And then once we stop,
we'll bring it on.
Oh.
You can put an edit in at the very, very end of the podcast when you think of it, and then you can.
I am getting good at editing, people. So
yeah.
So this might even be the truth that you hear.
Yes.
Moving words around.
A little disclaimer right at the end. By the way, the thing I was thinking of was so and so. But that moves me on to our next little piece that I'd like to bring out is that between DMS, Dimitri, and Mike, we have two rules to live by. From all of this inspiration, from all this media, we ended up coming up with two rules to live your life by. And I think the first rule I'll introduce, and I'll allow Mike to introduce the second rule. But the first rule is don't change. As a person, don't you change for anybody.
But yeah, don't you change for anybody. At least get it right.
It's don't you change for anybody. And this is imperative to our life philosophy. I think you are who you are. You got to accept that. If you're a nut job, be a nut job, i.e. myself. If you're a jokester, be a jokester, i.e. Mike. And don't let anybody change that. Don't let anybody influence that.
However, caveat. If you do identify a problem in your life,
yes,
you need to be the one who changes for you.
If you identify something that maybe, I don't know, you need to evolve, maybe within your spirit there needs to be a little bit of evolution, and you come to this conclusion on your own via self-analysis, go for it. That's called maturity.
Yes, definitely.
But under no circumstance are you allowed to change for anybody that isn't you.
Right. You have to do it for yourself.
Correct. So that's rule number one.
Oh, terrible.
What's rule number two, Mike?
Rule number two is to date up.
Date up. What do you mean by dating up? Like taller girls?
If that's maybe if you're a short guy, that you're definitely punching outside your weight class. I believe date up means always strive for more, especially with the opposite sex.
100%.
Don't settle.
Guys, like when you walk into a deal and somebody locks eyes on you and you look at them and you're just like, I can do better. Then go do better. Go ahead and do better. Don't settle.
Don't settle.
You got somebody who you've met who doesn't have the same aspirations, or I think the biggest one is if you want to go do something and somebody keeps convincing you not to do it and keeping you indoors, I don't think you need that. Like if you had a great day of like you're going to go bungee jumping and they're like, no, let's just stay in and watch a movie. I don't think you're dating up.
No. But I mean, it's up to you. I don't know what other people's definition of dating up is.
Yeah. Put it this way. If you think you can do better, you probably can.
There you go. I think that is the best way to put it. Don't you settle out there, people, on anything.
On anything.
Especially mates.
So that's Mike and D's, DMS, Dimitri and Mike's 2 rules for life is 1, don't you change for anybody, and 2,
date up.
Date up.
And you'll definitely hear that as our sign-off.
Absolutely.
Explain that to people.
That's right. Now, we have the transverse part of that. Rules of things you should never do.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm. More specifically, rules of things you should never talk about or things that no one else cares about.
This is a great one.
This is a great one.
I know where some of these are going.
I'll let you start it off.
The first one is your fantasy football team.
No one cares about your fantasy football team, folks. Nobody. Guys, bosses, when you're talking to your employees about your fantasy football team, they're only listening because you're their boss.
Fact.
When you're watching whoever it is on Sunday run for 150 yards and you put up 20 points and you're down by 5 in your league and you're super excited because it's the semifinals, guess what? On Monday,
No one
No one
cares.
cares.
I will
No
say,
one cares.
in the heat of game action, you can kind of get away with it
Correct.
because everyone's kind of doing the same thing, so it's a little more tolerable. But yes, after the fact, no one cares.
Yeah, no one cares about your matchup. Nobody cares who you should start.
No.
Nobody cares about any of that stuff. Nobody cares who you should pick up or who you should drop. No one cares. So please do everybody a favor. Stop talking about it.
Yes, fact.
The second one that I can remember off the top of my head, no one cares about your poker hand. Nobody cares about your poker. Nobody cares about your bad beat.
Yep.
Nobody cares about the big raise that you made on 2nd Street when you only had a flush draw. Nobody cares about the full house that you flopped and you got beat by a pocket pair that on the river ended up getting beat by 4 of a kind. No one cares.
No one cares.
One, you probably can't even tell it correctly. Like every time, how many times have you listened to somebody going, "Oh, I saw the flop. It was 3 diamonds, 4 of clubs, 5 of diamonds, and then the turn came and it was on the flop it wasn't that. It was something else. It was just no
Poker stories.
Like
never good.
Never good. Like no one cares. No one cares about the tournament you won. Nobody cares about the hand. Just stop. So yeah. Nobody cares about that. Now, those are the big two that I remember. What other ones do you remember?
Those were the big ones for me of conversational pieces that no one cares about. Here's a good one. Here's a good one for the kids.
High school football stories? Can I add high school football stories?
I think there's a time and place for those, but for the most part, yes.
Okay.
But no, here's a good one. You'll appreciate this one. For the kids out there, if you move to a new city, people in the new city don't care about your old city.
Your old city at all, ever. No one cares about the taco truck that you used to go to at 1 a.m. that had the best tacos ever.
Yeah, no one cares. It is the quickest way to not make friends in the new place you live.
How would I know this? Great question. I went across country my freshman year of college and effectively had no friends at the end of the first semester. Why? Because I kept talking about California. Turns out people from Philadelphia and South Carolina don't care and don't like that.
I mean, California is the best. Like
it is.
Sorry.
But only people from California can truly appreciate that.
Yes.
So.
No, that is a definite thing you shouldn't talk about for the youngsters out there.
Correct.
The old city you used to live in. It's just obnoxious. It's just then why'd you move? It's all that goes through my mind is then why'd you move?
Why'd you move?
It's so great. Why are you here?
There's that, and then the other big thing is most people aren't very good at telling stories or describing things. Yes. So when you say something's the best ever or it's so good, really does helps none. It doesn't help out at all.
Like I'm sure there's some ways to work hometown things into fun stories and stuff.
Correct.
But for the most part, yeah.
Oh man, they're the best. It's the best ever. Like there's nowhere else like it. You're like, correct, there's no one else like it, so stop talking about it because I'll never know. And last time I checked, interactions mainly between humans are about shared experiences.
Fact.
So that's what I got right now. I'm trying to think. High school football stories I think are bad. Can't think of anything else.
I mean, inside jokes, general rule for conversational. Inside jokes are never good with large groups of people.
I understand that if you're going to make inside jokes that you're alienating a large group of people, and there will be at a later time some kickback off that. Like you will there will be some collateral damage.
Like it better be really funny to you and your friend.
Yes, correct. It better be worth it. Those were the big topics I kind of had as far as introducing what DMS is.
Where we come from,
where we come from, and what we stand for. Okay. I would also like to throw a shout out right now. Get my Jalen Rose on and throw a shout out let me ask you this, Mike.
All right.
Who's the number one fan of the Tilting Ground Untitled USC Notre Dame podcast?
George Kokoris, your brother.
Would you like to tell the fans why?
Because I asked him to listen.
There was a solid 2-week stretch, and yes, the shout out is for my brother George Kokoris, who's listening out there. Probably the only one left. The shout out is to him because there was a solid 2-week stretch where, I'm not kidding you, every conversation you had either ended or began with, "Oh, by the way, there's a new podcast. Have you heard of the new Tilting Ground?"
He was a trooper.
USC. I mean, he's texting everyone. He knows this multiple times a day. He's texting people from other countries who are visiting, who don't even know what football is. They think they're talking about the Premier League. And you talk about the ultimate media mogul as far as advertisement goes for the Tilting Ground Untitled USC Notre Dame podcast.
It was George Kokoris.
100%.
I definitely, when we do the year-end wrap-up, I definitely have to give him a shout-out.
You might have to have him on for for a little bit.
Unfortunately, he doesn't watch college football.
No. So here's the thing. Is you have to ask him only based on the fact that he listened to your podcasts and nothing else what he thought of Notre Dame and USC seasons.
That'd be pretty good, actually.
So this has been my all-time dream in life. It's on my to-do list before I die, my bucket list, is I want to take somebody who hasn't seen the first 2 Matrix films, and I want to show them the third one. And then I want to ask them what they thought. They have to describe what they thought happened in the first 2 films.
You are the truther for the third Matrix movie. I would want the people out there to know that.
I am.
Everyone in the world hates the third Matrix movie except for Dimitri.
You know what? Because they were in their backs were against the wall. Clearly, the first Matrix movie was supposed to be one film. It wrapped itself up nicely. The effects were great. The storyline was great.
He flies away at the end.
Yeah, okay. But still, they didn't have the other 2 written when they had that first one go on. It was meant to be a single. Now, with the second one, you can do whatever you want. You can, as long as there's action in it, as long as there's adventure, you can have as many questions as you want. They had the Oracle, or who was the guy in the end, the professor or whatever it was. That scene made no sense to anybody.
Oh yeah. I acquiesce.
Yeah, exactly. That guy. Yeah. As long as you had action in it, it didn't matter because everyone knew, the third one will explain everything. Well, guess what? It didn't.
I'm still not sure what happened.
No idea. But I thought they tried valiantly, and I don't think anybody could have gotten out of that hole, and I applaud their efforts. So, yes, I am a Matrix 3 truther. I am a Matrix 3. I mean, I think they just went, F it, we'll just go with Jesus.
I'm just really glad that the things we've talked about are the Jersey Shore and the Matrix on the podcast in 2015.
Well, I feel like
you got to know where you came from to know where you're going, right?
That's correct. Couldn't have said it better myself. Trust me, I would have said it a lot of other ways. Would have been terrible.
Let's do some quick hitters while we have each other's attention here.
Yep.
What? You actually, you know what? I hate this. This is one thing I hate that people do, but I think it was so good that I'm going to bring this up. This will be a lead into another topic. So Dimitri and I had a fun running gag for about a week when the Dodgers were up for sale that we would tell anyone who would listen that we heard Chris Angel was going to buy the Dodgers. And it was great living in Los Angeles. And just, it'd be about 50-50 if people would believe me or not.
They would get so angry.
Just trying to tell you where we're coming from. And just give me some thoughts on the Dodgers, Dimitri. It's not baseball season. It's not baseball hot stove yet, but we haven't talked about it.
What do I think about the current Dodger state, or what do I think about the Dodgers of 2001?
Let's do some Mike Piazza talk. It'll fit right in with the Matrix and Jersey Shore.
I mean, I think with Piazza and the 3-hole and Eric Karros hitting in the 4-hole, there's Raul Mondesi coming off that Rookie of the Year season. I think they've got a solid foundation for many years to come. And, Hideo Nomo, I mean, that guy's got at least a 15-year career ahead of him.
There's a guy named Sean Green in Toronto that I think if the Dodgers could get, it would really help the team out.
Oh, but I digress. I think we might even have lost George with that one. So we are officially talking to ourselves now. 2015 Dodgers. Well, let me start with the offseason. Or 2016 Dodgers. Let me start with the offseason. I think it's really clear the lack of long-term financial commitments to players by Andrew Friedman shows how important building for the future is. I think people, when they saw Friedman come in and they saw the initial price tag of a $300 million team and the impact that they made right away, I thought people were under the impression that, okay, this guy's coming in, they're going to win now, they're going to go for it. But with his reluctance to trade away big-time prospects at the trade deadline for guys like Cole Hamels or a third starter, and with his reluctance to give Greinke a 6-year deal at, $300 million, I think what you're really proving to the fans is that this guy's serious about building a championship team in the long run. And it might be frustrating short-term for fans, but it's the right way to do it.
But now, does he know he's not the GM of the Devil Rays anymore? Because he has money, just FYI.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing I think people don't understand. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, you sign Zach Greinke to a 6-year, $400 million deal or something ridiculous. When he's in his 5th or 6th year of the contract and he's bad, you still have to throw him. You still have to pitch him because you're paying him all that money. You're not just going to let him go. They're like, oh, well, he gets old, you can go. I'm like, no, if you're paying a guy $30 million, he's pitching. He's throwing in the game. And that being said, they have an unbelievable stable of young pitchers, and they need to keep the rotation open for those later years.
Fair. That's a fair point. But, just as a fan.
As a fan, yes.
I hate prospects, and
I get it. You know who else hated prospects for a while? The Royals. Look what their prospects did.
That's true. They went to back-to-back World Series.
Yeah, and they won the second one. The Kansas City Royals. Effectively 4 years ago, the big joke was one of the Royals and the Pirates going to play in the World Series. Well, guess which two teams are in the playoffs now every year?
Yeah, it almost happened.
So, I think going back to 1991 and 2001, talking about, we joked around with Piazza and Karros and these guys, but that's how you get a long-term championship team, is you grow from within. And the difference between the Devil Rays and the Dodgers is going to be once those stars mature, you can keep them and sign them to long-term deals. When Friedman was with the Rays, he had to trade away David Price. He had to trade away those guys, Carlos Perez. He had to trade away Ben Zobrist because those guys, he needed value back because he couldn't pay them. Now that he's with the Dodgers, you can develop a frontline starter and pay him long-term and get his best years out of him. So, you're going to be with a guy for, 10, 15 years with the Dodgers. Look at the Yankees, the most popular dynasty of all of our generations, I guess, was built on what? The core four.
The core four.
Jeter, Pettit, Bernie Williams, Mariano Rivera. So,
Posada, is it Posada one of the core four?
Posada, I don't know. Who knows anymore?
It's five guys in the core four.
5 guys in the core four. Probably named somebody twice. But, as a Dodger fan, we've won the NL West 3 years in a row, and we haven't won a World Series. I think we've proven we can win the NL West. Now, I'd rather lose early to win late. I'd rather lose in the 2016 to win a World Series in 2018. Before I die, another thing on my bucket list. This is 2 things that have come up on my bucket list this podcast. But before I die, I need to see the Dodgers win a World Series with my own eyes.
You'll be lucky for them to just play in one the way they're going.
Correct. And for me, if that's my life goal, I'm way more okay with them building for the future.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's my rant about the Dodgers. Shout out to Justin Turner, who rocks the red beard. That guy's sweet.
Well, you stopped me in my tracks right there.
Oh, by the way, Mike Muto, where did Justin Turner graduate from? Where did he play his college baseball?
The California State University at Fullerton.
Cal State Fullerton, also known as 2004 College World Series champions. So
Yes.
yeah, a lot of good Titans in the major leagues. That being said, little known fact: can you name what college has the most big leaguers?
That's a good. I mean, I don't know. Texas, South Carolina.
You know what makes this thing so sad? You know what makes your answer so sad?
What?
The answer's on your diploma.
Oh, go Beach.
Go Beach! Long Beach State Dirtbags has more big leaguers than any other college.
I mean,
that one out.
I didn't think you were going to set me up like that.
So Mike is this will be the only time we mention this on air because, again, I mean, now we have like negative viewers. Mike graduated from Long Beach State, and I graduated from Cal State Fullerton, and they are big college baseball rivals. So
this will play big in Southern California.
Oh yeah, big time.
Let's see. All right, so we got your baseball dues here. What's another quick hitter for Dimitri and I? Where? Not a where. No, I don't have a good intro with where. The questions stories that start with where only lead to trouble.
Who? I think who would be your best bet.
No. What?
What? What's as good as well.
So what are you watching now? You told me it's only ESPN now that you're coaching, but nothing else on the old television?
I'll tell you what. I've kind of obviously the challenge. The challenge is the big go-to right now. I'm a big 30 for 30 guy. So
that's ESPN, man.
So any ESPN stuff there, but I'm not kidding you. The only other thing that I record other than the challenge is old episodes of Rob and Big. It's like cinematic TV at its finest.
Fair enough, man.
Fair enough. I know that question didn't go exactly the direction you were headed.
It went better.
You're too kind.
I am. Do you have anything else? Anything else for me? I mean, you kind of have the schedule here. I let you take control.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. Let's see. Anything else? Any other shout-outs?
I like to let my guests feel comfortable.
Oh, unbelievable host. Any other questions for you? Yeah, what? Let's say I was a young, ambitious podcaster. Nah, forget that. I was going to say, how do I go about doing this? But no one cares.
No one cares.
I don't know. What was your favorite board game growing up?
What a great question. I think you feel like I'm on a date with you. I think the passe answer is Monopoly because I feel like everyone says that because they want to look like they're smart and they can count and stuff. That's fair. The game of life. I always like the game of life.
Oh, damn. Good colors.
Yeah. You have a little car.
Color wheels brought things to life, and then you get the kids in the back. You could choose if you wanted a boys or girls.
Maybe Guess Who, like that analytical, critical thinking skill.
Yeah, some Guess Who action, absolutely.
Also, I like to rig the boards.
You would.
So when somebody knocked a thing down, I knew exactly who it was.
You would. Or you'd like to find the most obscure questions.
Yes. So I remember really smart.
I remember the one that we had was when we were in middle school or elementary school was, are they wearing accessories?
Oh, that's a good one.
So that included any, hats or earrings or necklaces. Nice. And so that, if you answered no, then it was poor Fred. Always Fred left. But the other thing is, have you ever heard of a game called Diplomacy?
No, I haven't.
Okay, apparently Diplomacy is a board game or some sort of strategy game. It's the only, apparently it's the longest lasting game of all. Like an average game of Diplomacy takes 8 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess the average game of Monopoly takes 3 hours, 3.5.
Before someone gets mad and flips the board over.
I mean, it just gets really complex towards the end there, and nobody really cares.
It gets really boring.
It gets super boring. The trades is the best part.
Yes.
When you get to trade properties. So no, I'm still looking for I'm in search of people who have played Diplomacy. I would go with Risk. I thoroughly enjoyed Risk.
Which is a good one.
And Connect 4.
Oh, yeah. Connect 4 is a great one.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. So I've got that. Would you rather, let's see, board games or card games?
Oh, board games.
Yeah, a little bit more character.
A little more character, more better rules, more better rules. Great. Just guidelines, like strict guidelines. Whereas card games, I feel like it's just someone explaining to me the rules.
Yeah, it's all numbers.
A little more fungible, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's all numbers. I was going to ask English or math, but I think you just answered that with your last answer.
Definitely. The SAT scores also.
And then,
answered that.
Wow. I don't know what it was about the high school we went to, but I think we all averaged like 100 points higher on the math than the English.
No, not me.
Oh, you were the other way around?
I mean, that's personal stories that no one cares about.
No one cares about your SAT scores.
Yeah, no one cares about your SAT score, but my math one was bad.
Oh, really? Well, we could have combined to either make a really smart guy or a really dumb guy.
I like it. That's the idea of this podcast.
Hey-o. And then final question, I guess, that I've got for right now.
Oh, wow.
Favorite saying? Favorite expression of yours, custom to Mike Muto?
Oh, man.
I know mine for you.
Oh, just tell me. Tell me what it is.
Oh.
Yes, people, if you ever hear that sound come out of my mouth, something bad's about to happen. That's my innate, like, what's the Malcolm Gladwell book?
Blink?
Blink, yeah. That's my blink response to bad things.
I mean, it's clockwork.
Like, I don't control it. If it comes out, something bad's about to happen. I picked up on some negative energy.
Like, you see an obese human being get onto a bicycle, and you can just see one of the spokes just isn't going to support it. And right before the person even gets on, you just hear Mike go, oh. Oh, it's how I know the fun's about to start.
Yeah, definitely.
So
yeah, that's my blink response.
Yes, exactly. And then
I have another saying that I use a lot, and I don't know what it is.
Nice. Whenever I send you anything via text message, and I get nice back. Normally a joke. Like, I've got something I think is hilarious. I'm expecting a great response. I type it in. I'm waiting in anticipation, and all I get back is nice.
I got a lot going on, man.
You really do. Yeah, I'm not gonna deny that. And then final one. Okay, final one.
The real final one.
Favorite sign off.
Courage.
The correct answer is courage.
It's back to the Men in Blazers.
Back to the Men in Blazers. Kung Fu fighting.
I think that winds it down for Dimitri and I. We just wanted to give you guys a taste of our comedic stylings, our background, and where we came from.
Again, super nervous, so appreciate everybody out there hanging in there with me. Really excited to get this first podcast done. I
think I'll definitely have Dimitri on again, and we'll have a more tight outline of what we're going to talk about, actual subjects. I just wanted to get the kinks out and see how we flow. Let everyone know, like I said, let everyone know where we came from, so you can see where we're going.
Put it this way: I'll actually let the experienced podcaster do the itinerary instead of the noob who's just has chicken scratch on a steno note paper.
But it was fun. It was fun to let you. Like I said, I wanted you to feel comfortable.
Got out all the kinks, baby. Now I'm ready to purr.
All right, well, everyone, Dimitri will be back at some point in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe the next podcast will be someone I went to high school with, so...
Thank God.
Everyone listening.
God.
There will be more, though.
Unless it's George.
I'm sorry that, we went to a very high school filled with many interesting people.
Yeah.
And so thank you all for listening. Thank you, Dimitri, for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Dimitri? Don't you change for anybody.
Oh, Mike, date up.